dog bones and dogs. Dogs are way better than cats. Because cats are like, get out of my face. I don't even want to look at you. I can't even believe you haven't fed me yet. Oh my God, I'm so beautiful. I'm just sitting here and you're not petting me. And you should pet me because I'm so beautiful. And dog is like, oh my God, 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 oh my God. I love you, 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 I love you. Food, 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 food. Dogs are awesome.
I picked out some absolutely gorgeous, magnificent papers that I had in my stash, and I wanted to make sure that I got papers that looked relatively masculine and had a really elegant feel to them. I'm trying to compare different papers here, and I finally decide on the lighter paper for the salutation, and I'm using an embossing folder from Sussex, Happy Birthday embossing folder, and then I pull out my Tim Holtz stamps and dies. And I also had this little happy birthday cake die that I pulled out as well. Here I am arranging the card how I think it's gonna happen, with the dog on top of the cake, and then using the little bones to be a decoration on the cake, and then using the leash and the dog dish onto the side. We'll just see if I actually follow through with it. So I start by cutting my pieces to size. I emboss the happy birthday, and then I use my Tim Holtz Distress ink to make that happy birthday stand out. But I thought it stood out too much, so I took out my Tim Holtz Distress Oxide Ice Spruce ink, and I kind of dabbed that along the raised embossed letters and cut that to size and taped that and placed it on the card. And I kind of dig it. I like it. So I trimmed that up and I placed it on my front card base, and it's an A2 size card, 4.5 by 5.5, I believe, or whatever the heck size it is. I took my vintage photo out and I made sure that the edges were covered to give it that finished look. And then I took out my Mini Misty and I placed my stamps on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock and took out my Momenta ink in the Tuxedo Black, placed my stamps in the Mini Misty and started stamping away, making sure I had a really good impression. I knew I was going to be using my Spectrum Noir Illustrator alcohol markers, so I wanted to make sure that I used the Momenta ink so I didn't have any bleeding issues with the ink when I go to color the pieces. And here I'm taking my alcohol markers and I'm coloring away, trying to make these bones look somewhat realistic, and the dog bowl and the dog and the leash, happy birthday hat, and the pieces of yarn. This card is being made specifically for one person. They have a love for dogs and knitting and yarn and any kind of crocheting, and he just makes the most fabulous scarves and crochets the best stuff. In fact, he's gonna be a guest on my show. He's gonna be my first guest and I'm so excited. You guys are gonna love him.
I think I want cake. Cake sounds really good right now. Where can I get cake? I'm gonna go to the cake bakery. I'm gonna eat cake. Cake that has chocolate frosting or cream cheese frosting, or a German chocolate cake with coconut pecan frosting, or a cream cheese cake with chocolate, or brownies with cream cheese frosting, or a vanilla cake with buttermilk frosting. And what other kind of frosting is there? There's like that super heavy lard frosting that's super gross. Nobody likes that frosting. It just coats your mouth and you can feel like you're like spitting Crisco for like 3 days and you're just like, what happened to my mouth? I've got like petroleum jelly in there and it's super gross and yucky, and who eats this crap? You probably only find that stuff at like a super bad bakery or something. And then you've got this other frosting that's super light and fluffy with the buttermilk, and that's always amazing. And then they have whipped cream cheese frosting, which I personally think is my favorite. And then you can make like a whole bunch of other frostings too. Like there should be a National Frosting Day. Like National Frosting Day goes right after National Cake Day, because National Cake Day is probably the best day in the whole wide world. People would be like, if we're gonna have a National Cake Day and a National Frosting Day, then we need a National Cupcake Day. And then it would just kind of tumble and roll from there, and then every day would just be like a fantasy day of cakes and bakery goods with dogs on them. Dogs make everything better, even cake.
These are all the alcohol markers that I used if you're interested in the colors. I'm placing the matching dies on the cards and taping them down just to make sure that they don't move when I push them through the Sussex Big Kick machine. And I'm taking out my Nouveau embellishment mousse in the pink and the turquoise, and I don't know the official names, so I'll put those below. I know that silver is platinum. And I'm kind of lightly going over each of the pieces to make sure they have a small, like a light pearl essence coating on them. And then I take my Distress Oxide inks in the faded jeans and I kind of smush that onto the birthday card, and I line all of the pieces that I colored with the Tim Holtz Distress ink in Vintage Photo just to make sure the edges are finished. Took out my Distress Oxide inks in the faded jean again and the peeled paint, and I smushed that along to make sure that I had a really nice background. I also took out my Spice Marmalade and my Warren lipstick and did the same thing. Something I would do differently next time is I would make sure that the top portion had some tape on it so I wouldn't get that all dirty. And something that you'll notice when I'm using the Wilted Violet, I wanted to make sure that I made like a table. You'll see that I have some tape down because I wanted this to be much darker than the rest of the background, and you'll see that the purple didn't really do what I wanted it to, so I took out the Vintage Photo Distress inks and I made sure to blend a table onto the background, and which you can clearly see in this next slide, which you do not see on the video because my battery died. And then I start to assemble using my precision tip applicator bottle, which I love so much. I'm using some Liquitex gel matte medium in the bottle, and it serves as a perfect glue, and I'm using my Fiskars tweezers to make sure that I can pick these little pieces up because they're just a bear to pick up when they're that small, especially when they have glue on them.
So how could a dog sit on a cake with some bones on it? I mean, don't you think that the dog would fall through? I mean, there would have to be some kind of platform on top of the cake to hold the dog there. Otherwise, the dog would have like frosting all over his feet. And there would be like people going, oh my God, get the dog off the table. Get the dog off the cake. How are we going to eat the cake? And everybody would be up in arms and there'd just be like some chaos and stuff. And everybody eventually would be like, no, let the dog sit there because it's got a hat on his head. And any kind of dog with a hat on his head is super cute. And that gives him permission to do whatever he wants. And if that means that he wants to stand on a cake, on a pedestal, on a table, then he can do it.
I'm kind of looking at the piece just to see what I think of it, and I'm just kind of going over it and I'm trying to figure out what else does it need. It does need something else. I just couldn't figure out what. And then I decided, well, I'm just gonna stamp the back of the card like I typically do with cards that I give to my friends. And I made the handmade stamp with the $1 million of love. I made sure I took out my Molotov acrylic marker in the red and colored that heart. And I'm still going over it, trying to figure out what the heck am I going to put on here. And I decide to take out my liquid pearls in the platinum color. And I made little pearls on the card stand. And I think it's finished. I think I like it. I just really dig this dog. And I think it's the best stamp die set that I've ever purchased. It just has so much personality. And I really like how it gives the card that I made here a personality all of its own. I really had a great time making this today. Thank you for joining me. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to see other things that I create, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Until next time, love you guts. Bye.
I think dog people are different from cat people. I love cat people and I love dog people. I'm allergic to both. I'm not allergic to the people. I'm allergic to both the cats and dogs. Unless it's like a poodle that has, like, it doesn't shed and it doesn't have dander and it, like, nothing has anything on it.